right, Joseph, we're picking him back up. We talked last week about where we were going to talk about his dreams, where the butler and the baker had the dreams. And I didn't know yet whether I was going to cover the dreams or not, but we're kind of going to cover them, but we're going to cover them really fast to get to another point. So, and it's, the way God works is just, because I've been praying all week, just like I do every week, Lord, lead me to what you want me to say this week. I know kind of the gist of where we're talking about Joseph, but what do you want me to bring out? And Thursday I came across a verse and I was like, that's what he wants me to bring out, So then I was able to kind of really meditate on it Friday and Saturday. And so it's good stuff. But let's pick up, like I said, where they came to him. And last week we talked about where Joseph came in the morning and he said, why are you so sad? And remember we talked about why aren't you, Joseph? Well, we're going to pick up right there. Why are you so sad? Okay. Just to kind of catch up everybody who wasn't here last week. This is Genesis 40, verse 8. And they said unto him, the butler and the baker, we have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you. Just real quick, I want to look at what they said. We've had a dream, or we've dreamed a dream. And look at this line. There is no interpreter of it. Just because we don't know something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Just because we can't do something or don't know how to do something doesn't mean that it's not able to be done. There is no interpreter of it. Well, there's one standing right in front of you right now because he's in touch with God. And as I said, Joseph said, do not interpretations belong to God? God can do anything. Amen. But see, they didn't know God. Joseph did. We are prone to absolutes, alls, nothings. Nothing ever goes right. Is that true? No. Yeah. Everything's always bad. Everyone hates me, Everyone? Really? Just like this. And there's no interpreter. I'm going to knock that off the table. No interpreter. Nobody can do it. Nobody can tell us what it means. No, you just don't know the somebody who can tell you what it means. We have to be careful, especially as Christians. Because when we start using language like that, all, every, nobody, we can lead the world astray. Because there's always somebody. The Bible says we can do all things through Christ, and that is an absolute. That is true. But what we so often say is not, and we have to be careful. So Joseph set them straight real quick. Interpretations belong to God. So tell them to me. Which kind of comes across, interpretations belong to God, so you tell them to me. I'm God, But he was in touch with God. He was listening to God. Wouldn't you love to be so in touch with God that you could say, well, God can do that, so let me help you. And God can use me. God can tell you through me. Wouldn't you love to be so in touch with God that you could say that and really mean it? Joseph could. Through all he'd been through, he could still say, I can help you. Because God's flowing through me. I hear him. I'm in touch with him. I've talked to him on a regular basis. We're good friends. Sometimes we have to, well, let me get caught back up, because it's been a while since I talked to him. So anyway, he says, tell him to me, and I'll see what I can do. Because God's the one who can tell you the answers. So the butler goes first. And he says, well, I had this dream. It had these 3 branches, and they had these clusters of grapes. Okay? And I was holding Pharaoh's cup in my hand, and I was squeezing those grapes into his cup, and then I handed it to him, and he drank. And Joseph said, lay off the Mexican food, dude. No, he didn't say that. I probably would have. Okay, your dreams sound like mine, I dream I've been chased by a giant turtle or something, That's kind of, kind of odd. But Joseph said, oh, that's easy. Remember, in touch with God. That's easy. The 3 vines are 3 days. In 3 days, you're going to be called out of prison, and you're going to be restored to your place as butler, where you'll serve the Pharaoh his wine and his food and, 3 vines, 3 days. You'll be free. Awesome. But he wasn't sad anymore, was he? That butler's going, oh, yeah, Oh, yeah, I'm going to be free. Oh, yeah, you know. But Joseph goes on. Okay, he tells him the interpretation, lets the butler have his moment of, woohoo, you know. But then he goes on. He says, but think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me. I mean, after all, I've been kind to you. And make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. I want out of here. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing, that they should put me into the dungeon. Joseph's not really complaining. He's just kind of stating the fact. I don't belong here. I didn't do anything wrong. And I don't know if Pharaoh even knows that I'm here. So when you get out, will you tell him about me? Tell him that I'm here. Tell him what a good friend I've been. Tell him how faithful I've been. And tell him I don't belong here. I didn't do anything wrong. Will you do that? Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. You know, Joseph, you've been so good. I mean, remember we saw last week, Joseph served them? He'd taken good care of this guy. So he says, will you show me kindness? Well, sure. You kind to me, I'll kind to you. Absolutely. Meanwhile, the baker's sitting over there going, I want you to tell my dream. You know, it's like a little kid at Christmas. Can I have my turn? Can I have my turn? Can I have my turn? You know, can you tell me my dream? So Joseph says, okay, tell me your dream. He said, well, mine was strange too. I mean, you think his was strange? Mine was strange. I was carrying these 3 baskets on my head. Okay, right there, that is definitely strange. And the top basket had all these sweets in it. Quite strange. And the birds were eating the sweets out of the basket. Well, I don't blame the birds. I mean, you know, we're talking sweets here, you know. He said, I don't understand. That was a weird dream. I don't know what Joseph's expression was, if he just tried to keep a nice, happy, polite face or what, but he said, here's the interpretation. In 3 days, hence the 3 baskets, you'll be pulled out of prison too. And you'll be hanged. Well, why are you so sad? Yeah, I was going to say, didn't he have something to look forward to? 3 days. Sometimes knowing the future is not always a good thing. We want God to show us all these steps and, you know, well, God, can I see the plan? And you know what? If he showed us the whole plan, we wouldn't do it. We'd say, nope, I'm not going that road. Because we'd see those hills and those valleys and you know, those dark places, those valleys of the shadow of death. No, thank you. I'll go this way. Sometimes knowing the future is not a good thing. Just ask the baker. I really wish you hadn't told me that. Now for 3 days I get to think about, oh good, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. You know. Poor guy. I bet he, like I said, and can you imagine you got the one going to die and the one's going to be free and restored, and don't you know there was some serious envy going on there? I don't know. But that was the interpretation. And Genesis 40:20 tells us, and it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. Birthday party. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants, just like Joseph said. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again. And he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had interpreted. So he was spot on. It happened just like he said. But this is where I want to hang out for a little bit. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgat him. 3 days. And he forgot him. And he'd been with him those 3 days in the prison. He gets out. He gets back to his good place, his good standing, his good life. And he forgets him. You ever been forgotten? We tease my dad to this day. He left us at daycare so many times because he'd forget to pick us up on the way home, because some days Mom would pick us up and some days Dad would pick us up. It just depended on whose schedule worked out, you know. well, bless his heart, Daddy'd get in his car and he'd just come on home, and there'd be a message on the answer machine, Mr. White, are you going to pick up your children today? So to this day, Daddy didn't love us. He always left us at the daycare. We know he loves us. We know you get in the car after a long day and you go home. You want to go home. But we love to tease him because he gets all flustered. He's like, well, I just forgot. I just forgot, So we're like, yeah, our daddy forgot us, I wasn't like that. This is out of sight, out of mind. I just forgot you. That hurts to be forgotten that way. Now, like I said, forgotten the way my dad, it was an accident. It's funny. I mean, like I said, we tease him about it because it's funny. None of us are mad about it. But to really have somebody, you do something for them, or you're a good friend to them, and then they get in a situation where life's treating them good, and it's just like, who are you? No, they just forget you. That hurts. But you know what? You're in good company. Joseph was forgotten. He wasn't the only one. How about this one? Psalm 13. How long wilt thou forget me, O Lord? Forever? How long wilt thou hide thy face from me? This is David talking to God. How long will you forget me? Now, did God forget David? No. But you ever felt forgotten by God? Oh, yeah. The Bible doesn't say we'll never feel forsaken or forgotten. It says we will never be forsaken or forgotten. But we know that being and feeling are not the same thing. Not at all. David says, how long will you forget me? Hello, God, I'm still here. I'm still in trouble. I still need your help. Hello? How long will you forget me? I love Psalms. I love David. I'm like, this is a man after my own heart. I can relate to David. But he felt forgotten. He wasn't the only one. This is Lamentations, written by Jeremiah. Wherefore dost thou forget us forever, and forsake us so long time? Guess who he's talking to? God. Hey, God, we're still suffering. This is your people. You said you loved us. You said you'd never forsake us, but you've forgotten us. No. God hadn't forgotten. But it doesn't mean he didn't feel forgotten. And we know, Lamentations, the whole book is lamentations, as in sad, as in mourning, Why you forget us? But get this one. It gets even better. This is God speaking. I did know thee in the wilderness, talking to Israel, in the land of great drought. According to their pasture, so were they filled. They were filled, and their heart was exalted. Therefore have they forgotten me. I knew you in the wilderness when you were in great drought. So I delivered you into the land of Canaan. I gave you what you wanted. You had a land of plenty, and they were filled, and their heart was exalted. And guess what happened? They forgot him. Just like the butler. You get restored to your place. You get put back in that good life, that good standing. Get out of the fire, basically. Well, now I don't need God. I'm good. I have what I want. I have what I need. I don't need God now. We don't say that. The Israelites didn't say that, but their actions did. You know that saying, actions speak louder than words? They really do. They really, really do. And their actions said, we don't need you, God. We can make our own gods. We can worship whatever we want to. We can be our own gods, We're where we need to be, so, But how often do we do the same thing? I don't like going through the wilderness story because I see myself in those Israelites too much. And I get ashamed. And I get convicted. And I get heartbroken. And I think, Lord, why do you put up with me? Why? I wouldn't put up with me. Some days I don't want to put up with me. I'm like, I got to get away from myself. How do I do that? It's awful. But it's like this. It's like, well, when times are hard, it's easy to turn to God because we need help. So we're like, God, help me, God, help me, God. Why hast thou forgotten me? Oh, God, don't forget me. But then when things go good, it's okay for us to forget God. That's not right. Kind of like the butler. Joseph was good to him. Joseph served him. Joseph took care of him and asked one favor, one little teeny tiny favor of him. You're going to be right there beside Pharaoh. Just whisper my name, Joseph. He's in prison. He didn't need Joseph anymore. He got what he wanted. He was out of prison. Just totally forgot him. Totally forgot him. Just like the Israelites forgot the Lord. Just like we forget the Lord when things are going well. And I think sometimes that's why God doesn't let things go well all the time. I think sometimes he says, you know what? You're getting a little too independent there. Let's throw a little roadblock up and see what you do. Not to be cruel. Because he knows what we need, and we need him. And when we're putting our strength and our reliance on other things, we're bound for trouble. We are bound for trouble. Aren't you glad, though, that God doesn't treat us the way we treat him? Like I said, David, he felt forgotten, but he wasn't. Jeremiah felt forgotten, but he wasn't. I know each of us at one point or another has felt forgotten, but we weren't. And I can prove it. Isaiah 49 says, can a woman forget her sucking child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget. Yet will I not forget thee. Mom, do you ever forget your children? Says you can. Says you can. But God can't forget us. Doesn't say it says I will not, but he can't. He can't, and I'll prove it to you in this verse. I'm not telling you stuff just I made up, I promise. He can't. For God is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which ye have showed toward his name, and that ye have ministered to the saints and do minister. Unrighteous to forget. That's saying it would be wrong for God to forget. God is not unrighteous to forget. In other words, if God forgot, he would be unrighteous. Well, we know God is not unrighteous. So that means he cannot forget us. Because he can't be unrighteous. He can't sin. He can't do wrong. So he can't forget your work and your labor of love. Not just us, but what we're doing. Those things that we do that nobody seems to see, nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to even care. But we do them as a labor of love because they need to be done, and we feel the Lord leading us to do them. We're not doing it for praise, but sure, sometimes it would be nice for somebody to say thank you, or, I noticed that you did that, But it's a labor of love, and God says, I notice. I see everything you do. The work that people notice, the work that people don't. The work that even sometimes you don't notice you're doing. I notice. I notice that you're doing it. Isn't that wonderful? And he says, not only do I notice it, but I won't forget it. So every time we mess up, God says, well, yes, she messed up and that was wrong. And I know she needs to get it right. And I'll convict her until she does. But she also did some good. I remember what she did good. And the great thing is when I get that confessed and it's technically already under the blood, but you know what I mean, get it confessed and forgiven, then it's gone. And he won't remember that anymore, but he'll still remember my good. We tend to be the opposite. We remember the bad, not the good. Every time somebody says something bad, we remember that, all the faults our men folk have, we remember those, The good characteristics, sometimes those are harder to remember. But God's the opposite. He says, all the bad, if you've confessed it, I don't remember it anymore. But all the good, I'll always remember that. I always remember that. Isn't that awesome? So Joseph, bless his heart, was in good company. But Joseph knew even though the butler forgot him, God was still with him. Remember each time Joseph moved, remember what it said? But the Lord was with Joseph. But the Lord was with Joseph. But the Lord was with Joseph. Well, guess what? The Lord is still with Joseph. He hadn't forgotten him. He's still working out that plan. It's just not the right timing yet. Just not the right timing yet. God's got it under control. Whatever storm you may be going through today, God hasn't forgotten you. It's just not the right timing yet. Just hang on a little longer. It'll be okay. It will. I promise it will. We have God's word. He's not unrighteous. He will not forget us. He's watching. He knows. And in that perfect timing, He'll move us to the place we need to be. But right now, this is where we need to be. This is where we need to be. So don't lose heart. You're not forgotten. You're not forgotten.